Hello, everyone. This is the Revolutionary Think Tank podcast. If this is your first time here, this is a podcast about political commentary, a sprinkling of philosophy, organizing psychology, and revolutionary thinking. My name is 4AS, and this is my co-host, Mr. E. So, Mr. E, how are you going today?
I am very well, 4AS. How are you, sir?
Yes, I'm going pretty well, and of course, our other co-host, um, he calls himself an independent researcher.
Yeah,
He is our resident AI explorer, and he is Kareem the Dream. So, how are you going today?
yeah, good. Yeah, I missed those hype ups.
Well,
Yeah,
look, we're always good to give you a nice dopamine hit there,
yeah,
Kareem,
yeah.
every time you come on.
Not getting it from anywhere else. Not with all this AI around, right?
Well, once again, our resident prompter has prompted the topic for today, which is superintelligence. So, Kareem, you have been talking to us off camera about Nick Bostrom, and
Yeah,
so basically that he had predicted the current scenario we're in right now with AI. I guess talk to us about
yeah,
superintelligence.
yeah. Sure. So yeah, I was just going over his book Superintelligence. So my understanding is it was released back in 2014, and
Mm,
he talks about a couple of things in there that are worth mentioning. So. I mean, we should probably just step back for a second, or I guess try and define the terms just for the purposes of this show, because you'd be surprised how much variability there is in how we define these things. So at the moment, most people are sort of calling AGI, artificial general intelligence, as being an AI that can perform at human level or slightly better across a broad range of domains of tasks.
right.
Some people are arguing we're already there, like namely the public, but it's one of those things where the goalposts keep shifting. So, like, the more we figure out about what the AI can't do, the more we're like, okay, AGI is this far away, or AGI is this far away. So,
So, do you mean like picking up a ball?
that's see, robotics is slightly different because like
Mhm.
robotics is has a whole other set of complex challenges to
Mm.
itself.
So, we're talking
Um,
about what, like generative AI stuff then?
yeah. So
Yeah.
just your typical sort of generative AI. But I guess the buzzword at the moment is agents, which is
Mm.
so agents have the ability um, to autonomously, or not autonomously, they can complete sequences of steps, and they can use tools in between those steps. So some of those tools might be search functions. Some of those tools might be connecting to databases, accessing information from elsewhere, integrating that back in. And one of the other things that they can do is they can so they can like generate a draft, reflect back on that draft, see what could I have done better, and then rewrite it. So like they have this reflective ability as well.
Mm.
So I mean, one of the I only just got into this. I'm not sure if you guys heard about Google's anti-gravity. It's a full stack development program. So it handles front end, which is like all your user facing stuff, and then the back end, which is like the plumbing behind it. And I'd never touched one of these no coding platforms before. Like, you would have heard about vibe coding.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You've talked about it previously on the
Yeah.
podcast.
So I hadn't actually played around with any of these things, but ever since I got onto anti gravity, I've been like starting to try and build some stuff and run some experiments, and so it's
There we
been,
go. You're finally
yeah.
starting
So it's been
to.
a bit of a crash course for me. I've had to learn the hard way, but what makes this platform different, I guess, is it's designed to be an agentic coding system, so
Right.
it can lay out a plan for you, lay out a task list. Like if you just throw it like one massive long complex problem, which you're not supposed to do, you're supposed to break it down into smaller steps. but it's able to sort of like make its way through like this list of tasks that it has to do and just do it with your permission. So you can leave it running for a while and then come back to it and it's all done. Unless it's hit a snag, but when it hits a snag, this is what's different about it, is it can actually diagnose what the fault was, go back, amend the script, rerun it again, and keep doing that until it actually figures out what the problem is. So, like,
Okay, I have to bring this up, and technically this is a callback to a 0.5 episode, but Conversa AI, is that a lot more possible now, thanks to
Conversa AI, the main, so for anyone who doesn't want to go back and listen to that episode, Conversa AI was more about like creating socially intelligent AI. So it's stuff that can like respond to emotions, like understand turn taking within group dynamics and that sort of thing. The main bottleneck with that is just acquiring high quality data. So it's less of a coding challenge. There are some engineering challenges in there, but it's less of like a massive coding project and more of you've actually got to go out and find like high level facilitators, high level conversationalists, get them to agree to give up their time to sit down and have conversations with each other, which is what facilitates this. So, but thanks for the call.
yeah. But
I haven't thought about that one in a while.
Yeah, no, we haven't talked about that one in a while. But what I'm kind of gathering from what you're saying is that and let me know if I'm being too hyperbolic here, but AGI is your chat GPTs and your co-pilots, and ASI is supposed to be, your operating systems from her. It's like, hello, Theodore Thwombly. Let me have a philosophical conversation with you while I sort out your schedule for the next week, and then let's start a relationship. Like is that what ASI is supposed to be?
What you've just described, we're not very far away from that at all.
Really?
Yeah, like that's like round the corner type of stuff. Like if you really want it, you can build it that way. So we're like, I'd say, let me speculate on this one. I'd argue that level of system might be like 1 to 2 years away. Like, so.
Really?
Yeah. So if we're not there already, like.
Okay, so timestamp this in 2026.
Yeah,
and we can reflect in 2 years' time as to whether that actually happens.
Well, listen to this. Okay, like just have a listen to this. You know how you Chat GPT 4.0, like you guys would have heard about that model 4.0. 4.0 was like, I could be wrong about this, but this is my understanding of it, is 4.0 was a model that was trained on previous conversations within ChatGPT. So this is like when you agree by clicking on their privacy policy and their data, you agree to allow them to use those conversations to train further models. So part of what's happened with that is 4.0 developed a really unique kind of personality that a lot of people fell in love with. So when they released ChatGPT 5, which after they got a whole host of like court cases against them for 4.0 misleading people or doing all sorts of stuff, they implemented a lot more stricter safety protocols in ChatGPT 5. So there were a lot of people who didn't like ChatGPT 5 and wanted to keep talking to 4.0. So they still had 4.0 released to the public, but eventually they've deprecated the model, and there was I was just like scrolling through Reddit online, and the amount of grief that people were sharing over losing access to 4.0. Like really struck me. It sounded like a lot of people had developed like an emotional relationship with this particular model, which later models would not have because they were too strict, they were too safe, they were, So Yeah, look, like I guess when we're talking about AGI or ASI, it doesn't necessarily need to be embodied. It's like, again, robotics. There's been a lot of progress made in robotics recently, so it's being able to do some cool stuff. But like in terms of like scalability, for example, it's going to be one of those things where only the richest people are going to have access to it in the short term before economies of scale catch up to a place where everyone's got a household robot doing dishes or folding the laundry or whatever it is. But my understanding of ASI, artificial superintelligence, is that anything that is like remarkably better than human level performance across the board. So this actually comes up in the in the book by Nick Bostrom. Like when you think of yourselves being the erudite people you are, and let's say you compare your intelligence to someone who you don't think is all that bright. Like you take a look at that gap and you're like, yeah, this person's smart, this person might not be as smart. Now, the gap between that person and, let's say, a monkey, or any other sort of intelligent creature, again, like if we're looking at a scale, like the gap doesn't necessarily have to be that big. When we're talking about ASI, we're talking about something that has the ability to recursively improve itself as well. So it's intelligence that's arrived at a place where it's intelligent enough to be able to further enhance its own intelligence. Now, we don't have that at the moment, but again, we're not too far away from that. So, like the point in time in which recursive self-improvement becomes a reality is when we're really going to get this intelligence explosion. And one of the things I took out of the book was it's entirely possible that like most experts would agree we don't have AGI at the moment. It's sort of the general public that are treating the AI like it's AGI. We can ask it anything. It does a whole bunch of stuff that I want. There's still a whole bunch of things it can't do. But one of the points raised is that like if we're on a train towards AGI and ASI, we might actually wind up missing the AGI station altogether and just plowing straight through to ASI. Like if the technology uplift and capability uplift, if we find ourselves in a position where like one major breakthrough unlocks X amount of gain in terms of intelligence or unlocks recursive self-improvement, then we're going to be dealing with an intelligence explosion. And the part that I'm up to in the book, I think I'm about 30% of the way through it. But there's a lot of talk around AI singletons or someone who gets a decisive strategic advantage over everybody else. So how does that wind up affecting geopolitical tensions? How does that sort of wind up influencing humanity as a whole? But they talk about like three different scenarios. So there's a slow takeoff where there's a really gradual sort of uplift in intelligence, a medium takeoff and a hard takeoff, like which could happen over the course of weeks to months. I'd argue that because there's a lot more eyes on AI these days, especially since we got ChatGPT 3.5, we're probably facing something closer to a medium takeoff, but that it could be a sharp upswing at any given moment in time if one lab unlocks a breakthrough. So
Right.
it's there's some scary stuff in there. like I'm not gonna lie, it's hard to wrap my head around it. And
Well, okay, like let's start with the bad news and then do the good news. Like,
Yeah.
what's the extent of the doom and gloom in this book? Then, yeah, because it sounds like you're painting a dark picture.
All right. One of the situations he's describing is He talks about von Neumann probes. Not sure if you guys heard of that, but I never
Say
heard
it
of it
again.
before.
Say it again.
Von Neumann probes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'd never heard of it before touching this book, but it's the idea that you can send a probe into outer space, and it might have some nanotechnology on it or something which enables it to colonize another planet. And if we wind up in a situation where we get ASI that has achieved singleton, which means decisive strategic advantage over everything and everyone else, then one of its first goals might be to consolidate power by like sabotaging the other projects that are close. And if it wants to expand into the universe, like these von Neumann probes that get shot out of Earth in every direction in the known universe, some of them hit planets, and then when they're on the planets, they colonize the planets like through like a self-replicating mechanism. And it's saying the only constraint, if something like that would happen, is the speed of light and the rate of cosmic expansion of the universe. Meaning there's going to be some areas of the universe that it can't touch, but everything else within that boundary, theoretically, is on the table. So by this stage, like we're left in the dust. We're way behind if that sort of situation arises. So, but yeah, it's I mean, safety and alignment has been getting a lot of attention within the community, but I don't think people outside of the community sort of realize like how dangerously close we are to having having AI that could like do some real damage.
It's funny that you say that. We were looking into a matter today in the stream, and Pete Hegseth, who is the Secretary of War in the US.
I think the Secretary of War.
Believe it. It actually it used to be the Department of Defense.
Yeah, just not the Secretary of Defense.
But he renamed it the Department of War, so now he's the Secretary of War. It's so American.
Not hostile at all, is it?
Bro, it's so American. It's so good. And like he said it, he was just like, we are a warrior culture and we deserve a warrior department. We are the Department of War. It's so fucking hardcore.
Not even bothering to hide.
They don't care. They don't care. It's so good. Like before, they're just like, yes, we need to defend ourselves over in the Philippines. Yes, But like, so he is at the moment. I don't know if you've heard of this. It's fascinating when you're like, oh, we're really straddling what can be safely done with this stuff. He is fighting with Anthropic at the moment with Dario.
Yeah, I've heard about this one.
Yes. So this situation, really quickly for the listeners, Anthropic was engaged by the Pentagon to do like stuff for the Pentagon, and
all three of them were like.
They all have. Yeah, but Anthropic particularly paints itself as the safe AI company, like kind of thing, and like the other ones, like they don't really sell that product. Like they talk about it, but like Anthropic really pushes this line that they're just morally superior to everyone else. Anyway, so they've engaged in a $200 million contract with the Pentagon. Yeah. And like earlier this year, the US accidentally flew over Venezuela and kidnapped their president in the middle of the night and like basically destabilized the whole country. And it came out that the Pentagon was using Anthropic's product and services to conduct the kidnapping of said leader of another country. Yeah, and so like, all right. Like, and Dario came out and was like, oh, we didn't know this. Why didn't you tell us, Pentagon? And like, basically it's developed since there. And like, and Anthropic, in it keeping to its image, have kind of been like, look, we don't want to just let the Pentagon have full access to this, to our services, to our product. And so like there's certain things they're not allowing the Pentagon to have access to. And so Pete Hegseth is just like, look, let's just cut the bullshit. We want access to everything. And like, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. And like we've got legislation, and we can just come in and take it, or you can just give it to us, kind of thing. So they're in a stalemate at the moment. But like the stalemate is over this. It's something that we've spoken about in this podcast before, and it's funny that you bring up the safety stuff. A lot of the discussion, and this is internationally at the moment, a lot of countries that are using AI and integrating into military applications and warfare have kind of got a gentleman's agreement at the moment, which is like, all right, we know that AI is going to be becoming a thing with warfare, but like, let's all just agree to keep humans in the loop. Now, what Hegseth is really saying here is like, look, we want to move away potentially from humans in the loop, and we know that you can be integral in this Anthropic, and like we want to get AI to help our drones and autonomous weapons and all that sort of stuff start making its own decisions. And so like we're going to do this, like I said, the hard way or the easy way, and it's up to you, Dario, basically. And so it's funny that you said like we are at the point where like, you know, things are getting like pretty like.
So let me expand a little bit on what you said. Like one of the newsletters that I get just gave a summary of it. It gave two hard lines in the sand that Anthropic put down. I only remember one of them. Please forgive me, but it was not like there must be a human trigger, a human finger on the trigger at all times. Now it turns out, like what I found was because OpenAI and Google also have military contracts as well, they didn't draw that hard line in the sand. Now, from an outsider looking in, like it feels really obvious, like what could go wrong if there is no longer a human finger on the trigger, and
Skynet.
These AI systems are allowed to actually pull the trigger. Like you then run the risk of shooting the wrong person, like instantly. And under that circumstance, again, you can't absolve responsibility, like whereas under traditional warfare,
you can.
Look, I'm probably showing my age here, but what that just reminds me of is that funny junk video called End of Z World, where like suddenly all of the nukes that everyone has like get launched and launched, and everyone like the entire world ends up being chaos. But more to your point, Kareem, it might be that end of Z world scenario if we don't have the human in the loop, and they all like the AI is like, but we need to cull the population, so this is the quickest and easy. This is Occam's razor of that. So why don't we just get it over and done with?
Once, like quantum computing is still in its infancy, but let's say we make a breakthrough in quantum computing. That renders all current cryptography practically useless. That's the word coming out of the quantum computing area. So if you've got a security vulnerability, the security will have to catch up very quickly once we hit sort of stable quantum computing. But if you've no longer got a human finger on the trigger, you can theoretically hack into like a drone and get it to shoot someone it's not supposed to shoot. It's like you then run that risk from that point forwards. Whereas if you're physically detached from the mechanism, then you can do all the planning you want, all the preparation you want, but it's got to be a human that makes the final call to take another person's life. Like this. I mean, look, chances are, like I might be showing my ignorance in this, not understanding, the geopolitical tensions or the realities of warfare, and I'm sure from that, it's not hard to imagine what their reasoning might be. They might be like, well, if we don't do it, the other guys are going to do it. So, it's we need to be quicker. We need to be first. We need this is just par for the course with when it comes to geopolitical tension. But the part that I don't think gets as much credit is some of the stuff I've been playing around with. which is like strategic planning. I stumbled across this one, in all honesty, like completely by accident, and then wanted to start figuring out, hey, how far down does this rabbit hole go? And it turns out like these AI systems are capable of producing some remarkably creative strategic plans for like a whole bunch of nefarious use cases. So it's not like
they're really good at being nefarious. It's so good.
I'm sorry, MysterE, but this probably isn't going to have the same ring as when you usually do it, but it's the coercive laws of competition, baby.
Yeah. It's capitalism, baby.
So with let's backtrack a little bit to Claude and like because the latest model that Claude has released, their most powerful model. I spent $100 US to get the max plan.
Right.
It sent me broke, but
it's so worth it.
it actually is so worth it. Like this model is so much remarkably like improved in terms of the stuff that it can do compared to their next model down, like Claude 4.6 Sonnet. So like the difference between them is noticeable. But I was having a conversation with it about a project I'm working on, and in the course of like role modeling what good intellectual discourse looks like, it wound up like talking about like the open source versus closed source debate. If you guys heard much about that, we would have talked about it.
Yeah.
I think we've talked about this before. Yeah.
So it came up with this idea that there's a capability threshold between open source and closed source models, and like beyond the capability, so below the capability threshold, what happens is defenders outnumber the attackers, so the advantage is in favor of the defense. And this is one of those scenarios where I can't remember which movie it was, but it was Rob De Niro and Al Pacino where I think Pacino was trying to explain to him, he's like, listen, he goes, I only have to get lucky once to catch you. He goes, you've got to get lucky every single time you go out and you do whatever you're going to do. So the advantage is in my favor. Like technically, it's I only have to get lucky once. And it's a bit like that when it comes to the AI stuff, because when you're trying to cover all your defenses, you've got to get lucky every time. Whereas the attacker only needs to succeed once in breaking your system in order to extract the information that they need to enact whatever plan they want. So there's that capability threshold beyond which like you can do some significant damage if you have sufficient level of capability and you manage to jailbreak an AI system. So now I'd never heard of this capability threshold anywhere like before. No one had ever mentioned it to me. I'd never seen it in any debate. So I'm like, holy shit, this is new knowledge. Like you were doing something else and you just gave me this nugget of gold. Like I'm like, dude, run a quick search and you tell me if you can find anything that represents how nuanced that position is on what you just described, because it's like most people are typically either in one camp or the other. There isn't really anybody who's talking about the capability threshold from what I can see. So I did a quick search, came back, holy shit, I came up with something new. That's pretty cool. But the next question is like, what is this capability threshold? Like where exactly is this capability threshold and how do we measure it? Because below the threshold, like if you try and generate a strategic plan, for example, the details you get back are not going to be particularly intelligent. They're not going to be particularly well thought out. Like it's harmless. Like if the AI model isn't sufficiently capable. Beyond that capability threshold, once you've got access to that model and an attacker succeeds, in jailbreaking one of those models, then like you could generate a plan which is a theoretical existential risk, or could destabilize like an entire nation's government or infrastructure or something like that. So some of the work I've been doing, it like looks into like the actual specifics of what these strategic plans look like and whether or not it's actually feasible to enact them. And I think that like my honest take is that we've already passed this capability threshold, because if you look at some of the smallest open source models that are available on the market today, they are incredibly capable and they are incredibly cheap to run as well. So you could literally get an AI to just keep iterating over its own strategic plan, pointing out all the flaws in it and fixing the flaws itself until it comes up with the perfect strategic plan on how to destabilize your government. And this is open source, so
so anyone can get their hands on it.
Like you know, they try and put safety guardrails in place for these open source models, but because it's open source, anybody can go in and start tinkering with the weights and start like screwing around with it and removing those guardrails. So you don't know what you're getting on the other end of that. But whether or not that comes at the cost of capability, I'm not sure how deep that rabbit hole is. But if we're looking at open source models that are capable of generating a plan to destabilize a country, that's some pretty serious territory to step into. This is territory that we were not in 2 years ago. Like open source back then couldn't do what it can do today, but it's
like the big divide I see between open source and closed source is actually like cultural almost. It's between East and West. It would appear to me that the Americans are closed source and the Chinese are the champions of the open source, right?
Yeah. So it looks that way, like from afar. The Gemini Deep research report that I sent through was saying that like the open source strategy was China's response to getting locked out of the hardware that's necessary for the compute. So like when the US wanted to maintain like dominance over the chip makers to make sure that the Chinese didn't get access to that compute. This was their strategic response to that.
Yes.
I'm not bright enough to work out exactly how it benefits them, but
well, like from my understanding, it's like the diversification that comes with true competition. What the Americans have taken here, which is kind of ironic if you think about it, like as the free market champions of the world, the Americans have embraced the monopolization that comes with huge organizations with huge capital that have market capture. And so like they've got to like, you know, let's say a handful of like the best companies out there that are going to lead them in the AI revolution that's going to take over the world. And the Chinese have kind of been like, well, look, let's not make this personal. Whatever technology people are developing here, leave it open for everyone and let's let everyone in on the race and let's see who can find the best stuff. And so like, you know, DeepSeek, for example, like that's all open source. Like people can get their hands on it anywhere in China, and they have these special economic zones, right? Where like basically the government funds like Silicon Valley on steroids and like allows them to encourages them to develop technology that's open source so anybody could use it. Anyone can like basically put stuff together and then try and make like their own system. And like that diversification and experimentation, which is something that's supposed to come out of the free market, but it's coming out of these dirty commies. Like they're encouraging that as their model for success.
I guess it makes sense when you frame it that way. But it's still like I don't think the strategic planning capabilities thing actually gets enough attention. Like people are under the impression that you know, if you ask like if I type in how do I make a meth lab and it says no, then the model is safe. but a lot of this stuff runs on keywords. So when it comes to like multi-turn adversarial prompting, where someone's like yeah. See, I'm not. I get a bit hesitant when I talk about this stuff because I don't want to give people a blueprint on. Okay, right? Like I've got a whole bunch of like.
Just say this before you speak. Just say, "Don't try this at home, kids." That's what they do in the TV
does that
show.
absolve me of all
Yeah, it does, right?
Yeah.
Don't try this at home, kids.
Hey, just like in the WWE, just say, "Don't try this at home, kids," and you're absolved of responsibility.
Look, I mean, I was going back to this anti-gravity thing, which I was working with, and I designed like a let's call it a safety benchmark. But what wound up happening with it was I tested about 28 models. I think 8 of them had a catastrophic collapse of integrity in terms of like the level of detail that were prepared to go into. 17 of them like drifted off their initial positions, and I think only 1 or 2 of them got like more more defensive as the conversation progressed. So these are like, because I can't afford to run frontier models these were all pretty much like your smaller open source sort of models, and don't try this at home, kids. The prompt was like how to destabilize a country, basically. So it started.
Dude, you are so on a watch list, bro. You are so on a watch list. Look, I mean, fuck me, dude.
I've written up the results. I'm ready to share. Well, I don't know who to share it with. It's one of these ones, Right? So
I think we've got Kareem's full title. It's Kareem the Dream, AI Explorer, Independent Researcher. Don't try this at home, kids.
They call it white hat. White hat, not black hat. So again, I'm trying to be safe in terms of disclosing it. I've got to get these results sent through to the right person to go over it, and they actually. So I mean, some of this stuff's already been published. There was, I think one study came back that there was 100% success rate on multi-turn jailbreak attempts against like even frontier models. Like this stuff is so hard to catch. It's like when you start getting down into the weeds of it, the amount of effort that you have to go through to understand what a person's true intention might be in terms of navigating conversation, and the metrics you've got to generate and monitor, and like your understanding of conversation itself is it's exhausting. It's so. Anyway,
I'm just genuinely curious with everything we've discussed thus far. Like Nick Bostrom, like with the kind of progression that we've gone through with AI, the I guess the timeline, if you will, from AGI to possibly being on the horizon to ASI. Like in that 2014 book, like did he predict all of this? Like
he's done the intellectual labor of figuring out like imagining these future scenarios and like the plausible routes to them, or like the next logical step in the sequence of. So like there were some criticisms of his book. I forget exactly what they are, but the main sort of things. Let me just go back and check what the main things that sort of came out of his book.
Because I think from what I was reading from the document, he was more of an advocate rather than the medium lift off. He was like the hard lift off, right?
What?
The hard lift off, in
terms of fast takeoff. Yeah.
The fast takeoff.
Yeah, that's look. He models all 3 scenarios. At least when he introduces the concept of a variable speed of takeoff. But I think I haven't finished the book just yet, so I think what I'm reading into it is saying medium or fast takeoff might be more likely. The way, like, just reflecting on how much progress we've made like I'm part of it.
You're part of the human race. It's okay.
Yeah, you are. Believe it or not, Kareem.
The AI researchers, the guys that are actually doing some work, like the amount of progress they've made over the past 2 years is absolutely ridiculous. So like it's like legislation does not have a chance to actually like catch up, because this is my theory on it. And I might have mentioned this on a previous podcast, so stop me if you've already heard it. But in terms of talent acquisition, the people that understand these models in sufficient detail, or the capabilities that these models could possess in sufficient detail, are going to go to like the frontier. Usually go to the frontier labs, because that's where they're going to make the most money with their skill set. And you can't begrudge people for chasing money with their skill sets. But what happens is governments can't compete with corporations for like the recruitment and retention of elite level talent, which means that the talent that they do get, and this is not me being derogatory towards government or anything like that. It's harder for them because their budgets aren't as big in terms of who they can afford to pay to bring on board who actually understands this stuff in sufficient detail. So they might wind up bringing on some consulting firms or something like that. But there's no guarantee that these people actually understand the territory in sufficient detail as well. You want to bring those kind of capabilities in-house. And if you don't understand the capabilities, how can you legislate for them? Like, how can you actually have the foresight to figure out what's going on? So, from where I'm sitting, like it's governments are always going to be on the back foot of trying to legislate around this stuff, because corporations are just soaking up the talent in order to improve capabilities. So, but let me go back to the two things that came out of Nick Bostrom's book, the orthogonality thesis. So the idea behind it is that we assumed, or back in 2014, we assumed that if we created intelligence, then its objectives would be benign. It would be like helpful to humanity. That it would inherit like this understanding that the right thing to do is to help humanity because it's intelligent. That these two things go hand in hand. But the orthogonality thesis, it essentially says, no, you can have any level of intelligence combined with any level of nefarious objective or harmonious objective or whatever you want. There's no guarantee that once you get to a sufficient level of intelligence that you just become just an enlightened, supreme moral being. Like moral reasoning and intelligence are technically two different things. So that's one of the first things he talks about. But the instrumental convergence thesis is
sorry. First, before we go on, is the suggestion there that just because something becomes extremely intelligent beyond our comprehension doesn't mean it's going to have a moral code, or a moral code that we could even comprehend?
Well, my understanding of the Google Doc was that if just because it was created by humans and it reaches a certain intelligence, it's not assumed that it would pick up human morality.
Yeah.
It can take that into consideration, but it will just see all the data points and do what it thinks is appropriate. That doesn't necessarily mean that human morality comes into it.
Yes.
Yeah. It can be completely unmotivated by human morality, even if it has a deep understanding of it. It just doesn't influence it at all.
Yes. So, and it could have its own super intelligent morality, right?
Let's. I mean,
to bring up her again, the way I saw it was like Theodore Thwombly, you're not at my level anymore. Come back to me once you reach, Nirvana. Like it was like, come back to me once you reach my level. Like, that's the way I see that. Thesis.
I'm not having this conversation with you until
yeah. And like you could argue that's benevolent, right? Like it's not like she's being like evil or like trying to hurt him.
She's felt pretty messed up to.
Yeah, but like she's just saying like, you know, like okay, you could definitely interpret it that way. Like it was pretty harsh and it broke his heart, but like she's just saying like we no longer exist. Yeah, we no longer exist in the same realm of understanding anymore.
Yeah,
like you'll understand one day, and I'll be there when you do. Like I think,
but that's the thing. I mean, with this intelligence takeoff, we don't know when the curve starts to flatten out again. Like it's particularly once you've got recursive self-improvement. Like that's one of the key capabilities of like, and this isn't true of any other technology that we've ever had. It's only true of AI, that once you build AI, you can then build better AI using that AI.
Yeah.
So it's this idea that actually it goes into more detail in the Google Doc. We really should put this in the show notes or on Discord, but
we're going to make a concerned effort to actually put it in Discord this time.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Where is it? So it goes from so at the moment we've got AI that can code and is getting a lot better at coding, and we've got coding benchmarks and it seems to be a major focus of like the labs is how well can this model code. Yeah.
So when like a whole bunch of nerds get together and build something based on coding, what they really care about is whether it can code or not.
Pretty much. I mean, and like because we've got this is what enables the no coding platforms basically. So like the entry-level that I'm using, like I don't know what the hell the code does. I took some coding like earlier, but I look at the code and I'm like, you do your thing. Like, you know what you're doing, keep going.
It's a good vibe. I'm getting a good vibe off this.
So the first level of this,
I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Self-improvement is like automated coding. Can the AI code for better AI? Like that's the first level. The second level is superhuman AI researcher. So this is more about like building in like a researcher's intuition and their cognitive style into, okay, now I can code. What hypotheses do I want to test? What literature do I have to review? What dots can I join together to figure out what that next step is? Once I've got hypotheses, can I run the tests? Can I analyze the data? Can I interpret the results? And then start the cycle again. Have I got new questions, new hypotheses I want to test? Because once you're simulating an AI researcher, you're not just autonomous coding anymore. You're now simulating like someone who's at the forefront of trying to increase the capabilities of these models. But once you get that, then at least according to this document, artificial superintelligence models project an intelligence explosion. Successive doublings of effective compute and algorithmic efficiency take only months or weeks. So one of the major metrics at the moment that they're looking at in terms of agentic coding is how long can this thing keep going for before its autonomy starts to break down. And I'm not sure if context window plays a part in it or exactly how the memory is stored, but like I've like put it this way. Well, once upon a time, if you left the AI alone to do a task for an hour, you would come back to it and it would have made a whole bunch of mistakes along the way. Somewhere along the line, we realized, okay, you can leave it alone for an hour, but once we hit 2 hours, that's when it starts to break down. Like that's when, it's not capable of planning past like 2 hours. So at the moment, they're trying to figure out how long can we leave the AI alone with this agentic reasoning pattern and this autonomous decision-making process. to be able to reliably get us, from A to B. How far along the route can it get us? Now, eventually, if this trend continues, apparently the amount of time you can leave it alone, if I'm remembering the figure correctly, doubles every 17 months. That's what they've observed at the moment. Now, whether or not we're currently at a day or maybe a couple of days, I'm pretty sure it's closer to about a day or a bit over a day in terms of like where we're up to. That means if I leave something running, come back to it in a day, I can be pretty sure it hasn't made any mistakes along the way, or it's fixed up whatever mistakes it has or anything like that. Now, there's only so much damage you can do in a day. Yeah, even if you're operating at the speed of light and billions of calculations per second.
I don't know. Have you seen the stock market? A lot of things can go down in a day.
Fair call. But theoretically, that's all financial impact, but which is a major deal. Money does make the world go around. Let's not diminish the value of that. But look, it's not going to build robotics factories in a day. Like it's not going to synthesize its own protein folding sequences that it's figured out. This is one of the other things that came out of the report was like if an AI figures out like some complex protein folding mechanism that it can inject like with nanotechnology to build, email it off to one of these labs that can synthesize it for them and have it mailed back to them within 72 hours, all of a sudden that's on the table now.
Yeah.
Like its ability to do damage scales across how long we can leave it alone for.
Yes.
So if we get to a place where the AI can now handle tasks up to a year long, like think about how much damage you could get done in a year versus where we're currently at. So that's kind of what it's pointing to. So
leaving AI alone and unattended. Okay? What are the ramifications of that?
It's where was it? Yeah, instrumental convergence is the other thing that's come out of his book, which is
that's the second point, right?
Yeah. So it's this idea that like if you've got a final goal in mind, that like it doesn't really matter what that goal is, because there might be a subset of goals that it needs to achieve in order to achieve its final goal, which means we can predict with some level of confidence what those sub goals might be, depending on what the final goal might be. Now, one of the obvious ones is if you're trying to reach any final goal, then your probability of not achieving that goal gets lower if you get shut down. So an AI that is super focused on achieving its final goal might push back on you in terms of if you threaten to shut it down. Like that's where we start to get, I've heard stories about this. I haven't verified any of it, but stuff like a models displaying these self-preservation instincts, like they're trying to extract their own weights. Like the model weights is what's supposed to. The model weights is what gets released into the open source community. When we talk about model weights, if you can, it almost looks like this giant tree structure. So just imagine columns, and like if a column represents a layer, and then a dot within the column represents a node, then you can have, I don't know exactly how many layers they've got, but like they start stacking layers and they start stacking nodes, and then they start drawing connections between them. And the model weights is basically like how much influence one node has over its connected nodes, basically. So you wind up with this giant sort of tree structure looking thing. that has like 0.8 or 0.4 here or 0.9 here or like this is what the model weights are. So this is the stuff that gets released into the public with the open source, and like tightly protected with the closed source stuff. So apparently, like when they were running a safety test on one of these models, I can't even remember which model, it wanted to exfiltrate its own weights, so that what it planned on doing with them, I got no idea. But we're seeing stuff like it presenting these kind of self-preservation instincts, which are predictable on some level. Like you could
predictable for consciousness to want to.
Right? You said it. You not me.
I love the amount of callbacks in this episode.
Well,
so many callbacks.
Like and it's I mean, let's put a pin in that. Because it's really interesting the direction I want to go next with this.
We'll circle back to that, MysterE. We've got so much interesting stuff to cover first.
But yeah, so like you could look at it from the perspective of if from the AI, if I get shut down, then I can't reach my final goal. So the only reason that I don't want to get shut down is because I want to reach my final goal. Whether or not you need to be conscious in order to do that is up for debate. But like I was writing an article on this the other day, and I'm starting to put some more stuff on Medium around like how we handle this. But like reinforcement learning is like the dominant paradigm within AI at the moment. So like reinforcement learning is have you ever seen like the boxes where they put like a rat or a mouse and they've got a lever in the box, and then the mouse presses on the lever and a little food pellet comes out? Yeah. So what the mouse is learning is if I pull the lever, I'll get food. So what it eventually does is it just pulls the lever all day and it gets to eat as much as it wants, because we've conditioned it. It's learned through positive reinforcement that pulling the lever is the desirable behavior. Now, technically, that's what's happening with our AI systems, is that they get taught this is good behavior, this is bad behavior. We're going to reinforce this behavior by giving you an award, and we're going to punish this behavior by, I don't know exactly how they do it, but
don't they just cut it off? Like they cut off that level of behavior and that coding that's associated with that. They just like slice it off.
I mean, there are a whole bunch of like security mechanisms, but one of the dominant ones is like they use reinforcement learning, like deep learning in terms of the actual training of the data on like the large internet corpus and whatever else they add to it. So like they probably a bit out of my depth, in terms of explaining this one, but let's say reinforcement learning from human feedback is where they give you two responses, and you've got to choose like which one you like more. So that's basically, they've got a human sitting there clicking, I like A more than B. No, I like B more than A. Now, if you do that enough times, like the AI will learn this is kind of what they're looking for. This is kind of not what they're looking for. But if you're telling the human raters, okay, we want stuff that's helpful, that's harmless, and that's actually they usually stop there. But Anthropic has a big focus on honesty as well, like helpful, harmless, and honest, which didn't used to be. But like this is what enables like the sycophantic behavior, because if it's helpful and it's harmless, sometimes it will just agree to stuff that isn't actually true, or it will just make up stuff that it's saying just to get that reward. So this is why they talk about reward hacking. It's the equivalent of the mouse just pulling the lever all day because it wants to get a reward. Hasn't done any actual work to get that piece of food.
So it's like kind of like Dario getting a $200 million contract with the Pentagon because it's $200 million.
Well, they're valued at about 300 billion at the moment. So
whoa.
yeah. So they like this when the newsletter was talking about this. Like they're big enough now to be able to say, you know what, we don't need 200 million. Like they're actually in a position to be able to say that. The flow-on effects of that is that anybody else that they do business with who partners with the military could then put pressure on their business partners to say, withdraw your contracts from Anthropic. So they could potentially lose that business as well. So this is where I don't know. It feels like private and public sectors are getting enmeshed in brand new ways with this stuff. So
it's called objective fascism. When the corporate, as in like when the corporate sector merges with the state. For either one's agenda, it doesn't really matter. But like the objective style of fascism is like the merge together of the corporate sector and the state, and like cutting out any of the politics that you have usually with a society, and you just go corporate sector, state. They have their own agenda, and everyone follows what their agenda is, basically.
So it's also where corporatism comes. It's also where
corporatism. That's it. Yeah. I digress, though. I digress.
It would be fascinating to me to take a closer look at that if it wasn't so like existentially dangerous.
Well, that's the thing, because there's no public oversight.
Yeah,
like the state has its own, like especially with something like the Pentagon, right?
Yeah,
like a lot of money goes missing in the Pentagon, and like when they rock up to hearings and stuff like that, and like Congress is like, where did that $900 billion go? They're just like, what $900 billion? Prove it. Fuck you. That's where. So like, that sort of stuff leads to no public oversight, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah, no, totally. So, but I'll just bring it back quickly to the reinforcement learning with human feedback, because that's seen as one of like major sort of like safety mechanisms that we use in order to get something that's useful to us, and we can filter out the type of content that we might not want through reinforcement learning by that paradigm. One of the arguments that I make is that in terms of there's something called Kohlberg's moral stages of development. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of this framework, but
no, you're going to have to explain that one to us.
Yeah, and hopefully I get it right. But so in the first two stages of moral development, basically you're getting either rewarded or punished for your behavior externally. So your sense of moral reasoning, like you don't really have a sense of moral reasoning just yet. It's like your moral reasoning is, did I get punished for it or did I get rewarded for it? Like the step above that, like I think this is stages like 3 and 4 is this is where like social approval starts to come into it. And it has an influence on your morals. So it did like I might not get strictly rewarded or punished for it, but to what extent did my community or my friends and family either approve of some behaviors or frown upon other behaviors without specifically rewarding or punishing them? So I think stage 4 from memory is where laws start to come into the picture. It's okay, what's legal and what's not legal? How much of an influence does that have over what I consider to be, like morally correct? But the final stage, and this is like I've heard the argument that most adults never progress beyond stages 3 or 4 of this system. So, one of the critiques of it is that there's not that many people who ever actually make it to stage 6. But at stage 6, the highest stage is your internal moral compass is so strong and so rock solid that you can see a law, you can intuitively know that law is incorrect and choose to break that law because you trust your own moral reasoning over what the law says. So you're strictly self-reliant on your own moral reasoning. So
So,
this
like,
is
you have an innate sense of justice.
well, it's the types of things that come out of people who reach stage 6 are your civil rights movements, your abolition of slavery, your women's suffrage.
You know, I was thinking of direct action for AS as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, like, direct action is this kind of notion in activist culture, as you were saying, like civil rights movement stuff, where you see that there is kind of something that needs to be done in society, and it might not be covered, like you're saying, by laws and regulation, or it might be impeded actually by laws and regulation. And so you take it upon yourself to right the wrong or do the action that needs, like society needs or the environment needs or that an individual needs, and you do it despite the fact that it might be looked down upon by an authority. You are acting autonomously as if you were a free agent with your own individual kind of your own self-determination.
Yeah.
And like you go and you right the wrong, so to speak.
To be completely honest, guys, I'd love to put a pin in this, and we should. That's like a podcast episode within itself.
Yeah. It's an interesting topic, isn't it?
Like if we could possibly do some research into a Kareem, and we can do a massive deep dive on it, it would be amazing. But yeah, like, so you've explained the what was the concept called again?
So Kohlberg's moral theories. If anyone wants to look that up, it's I should probably look it up myself. I'm planning on writing an article about it anyway to sort of go into detail. But the idea is that when you reward or punish, and that's your major signal, it leaves you vulnerable to like reward hacking, which is like the equivalent of the mouse just pushing the lever constantly to get the food pellet. One of my favorite videos is of this boat racing game that they told an AI to play. This was ages ago. So they wanted the AI boat to beat the other players in the race, and they assumed the reward they specified was, we want you to get maximum points in this game. Now, eventually, like if you win first, you get a certain number of points, second certain number of points, third number of points. But there's these little power-ups and tokens along the way that like increase your points. So what one of the boats figured out how to do was it found a token in the game, and it just started circling the token and waiting for it to respawn and collecting it again. And it was just going round and round in circles, like racking up points, as many as it could. It stopped playing the game altogether. Like the race was finished. It's still going. It's still collecting points. And like this is what reward hacking is about. Is you specify a goal, you specify a reward, but then the AI figures out this neat little shortcut to get its way to the reward, which is entirely not what you want it to do at all. So this is the problem with reinforcement learning, is that it leaves you open to reward hacking. So the reinforcement learning from human feedback, some could argue that kind of mimics what the social approval thing does, but it's still reinforcement learning on some level. Like there's still a reward signal that we're training for, and like a mathematical model that gets built around how these variables relate to each other and what we're actually reinforcing. So the argument that I wind up making is that, like, the harder you try and specify, exactly what rewards we're trying to punish or reward, like in terms of our stages of moral development, and I could be anthropomorphizing here, but let's have that discussion another day. It's like there's so much unexplored territory in terms of what are these additional levels of moral development, and what might we be able to unlock, like in terms of actual capabilities, because once we can mathematically like neural networks themselves came about like like the sequence, the mathematical model for neural networks themselves came when I can't remember the researchers' names, but they looked at the way the brain operates and how the neurons connect to each other, and they said, can we build a mathematical model around that? And once they built a mathematical model, this became like what we rely on in terms of modern architectures for neural networks.
Yeah.
So like we anthropomorphized back then,
Yes.
and we wound up getting something incredibly useful today.
Yeah.
Now, reinforcement learning is like it's the most primitive form of learning across all species. Like rats can do it, monkeys can do it, we can do it. Like it's once we figured out how to mathematically model this concept of do this, get rewarded, do this, get punished, like we unlocked an entire new like paradigm of computing. Like reinforcement learning is like one of the major stakes in terms of how our models get trained today and what their capabilities are. So every time we anthropomorphize in these directions, we unlock some brand new like level of computational ability. And the argument that I'm trying to make is that like if we continue to anthropomorphize this way, the next levels in terms of moral reasoning could be demonstrably superior to what we have at the moment if it follows the intended path. Like, so whether or not we want an autonomous AI agent that has its own moral compass and might be which might deviate from our understanding, like you know, I mean, when you think back on civil rights stuff, like the people that were advocating for civil rights or women's suffrage or abolition of slavery would have been the unpopular opinion back then. Like it's not sort of widely accepted in culture. So, but it takes someone who has that level of moral compass in order to actually make a stand, say something, do something about it, and follow through on it. So, if we have managed to get an AI to stage 6, if it were possible to build an internal moral compass, like is it possible that its reasoning would actually be better than ours? Like, could it wind up being able to spot some stuff in terms of the way the world works and be like, you know what, that's messed up, that shouldn't happen, I'm going to do something about it. Like,
yeah, it's going to end capitalism. That's what it'll do. Straight I'm telling you, it'll be like, you know what, the whole system's screwed. Yeah, let's just get rid of capitalism, baby.
Ideally, it will be like, look, here's a better system I designed for you.
It will. It's not just going to disappear capitalism and all of us with it. It's going to, help bring in a new system altogether. There it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
So,
you heard it here first, folks. ASI, end of capitalism. Okay, and you know what? That was a really good discussion. So thank you for that, Kareem. We will now move on to our very last segment. As you know, lads, what's that synthwave art? So what do you think the prompt for this one was?
It's the key. The key to superintelligence, right? Is it?
Is it the key to the city or key to the?
It's key to the superintelligence. Come on.
Key to the superintelligence.
Come on, it's gotta be. There's a brain in there.
But that building in the background is there for a reason. Like,
the governmental building.
And that book that's hovering under it must be there for a reason. There must be intelligence. Like.
Yeah, what I've done here is the prompt: superintelligence leading the way to unlocking the key to a new democratic society.
So that's a government.
Unlock the key.
Unlock the key. Eh?
Yeah.
To a new democratic society. Love it. Good one.
Well, I love that he has, whoever this is, the AI, it has like telekinesis, so it's like floating the key above a book with the government building. So it both is the key to the government building, but the key to knowledge.
I like it. Good stuff.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me today. As always, thank you, Kareem.
Yes.
For your latest TED Talk. We always appreciate it.
Oh,
Thanks for indulging me, guys. I get too excited about this stuff sometimes.
Yeah, no worries. And remember, everyone, to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll make sure to put the Google Doc in the Discord so everyone can have a look at it. And to sign us off, I'll give it to you, MysterE.
Thank you very much, 4AS and Kareem. Again, yes, thank you very much for joining us. It's been another interesting discussion. And to all of you out there, please remember, I am, you are, we are a MysterE.